Alabama and Ohio State may be playing in the national title game, but it's the New York Jets that come away as the biggest winners from yesterday's games.
Jets, Jets, Jets!
Welcome to Jets Talk. My name's Ryan. I'll be your pilot today. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you've been here before, welcome back. I love having you here. Guys, we had a blast. We had like 20,000 people come into that live stream, so that was a lot of fun. So much so that we're going to be doing a live stream for the Ohio State-Alabama national title game on January 11th at 8 p.m., so make sure you tune in for that if you want to hang out and just watch more college football with us. It was a lot of fun. But let's get into today's slate, and let's talk about everything that happened yesterday and why the Jets are in such a better position today than they were at the start of yesterday. First up, we're talking Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson officially declares for the NFL draft. He finishes the season 73.4% completion percentage, 3,699 yards, 254 rush yards, 43 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. And hey, I was elated by watching Zach Wilson play against UCF, and it was a lot of fun to watch that. But this is great. You know, even though he's sort of considered that second, third quarterback, there's going to be a lot of discussion going back and forth over the course of the offseason as to who you like more one way or the other. This is good for the New York Jets. Having more quarterbacks coming out, whether it's for us drafting a quarterback or for us trading down and allowing more quarterbacks to go in front of us, this is huge. This is going to be really big. And I didn't know if Wilson was actually going to come out. Now, he's projected to be definitely a top 10 pick, probably a top 5 pick. But there was some thought that he may want to go back to school, at least from the interview that I saw his post-game. I wasn't 100% sure, so hearing this definitely gives me a little bit of peace of mind. So step one, not even part of the games, just a nice little tidbit there. Wilson coming out and declaring for the 2021 draft. Then we go into the Rose Bowl, the Alabama Crimson Tide going against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And most people kind of figured that Alabama would run away with this game. They were basically, anytime they face Notre Dame, they just kind of thump them. And that's basically what we saw. It was a pretty lopsided game. And two players that we were keeping our eye on, specifically for our New York Jets, Najee Harris runs for 15 attempts, 125 yards, and he had an epic jump over a Fighting Irish safety or cornerback or whatever he jumped over. The guy's 230 pounds, and he's able to jump over, a 6'1" cornerback or safety? Like, wild. Absolutely wild. You saw just how exciting he could be. He's going to be an option potentially for the New York Jets at the beginning of the second round if you're looking to go running back a little bit earlier in the draft. Maybe you bring in Arthur Smith and you get that sort of ground and pound style like a Derrick Henry. Who knows? But liked what I saw out of Najee Harris last night. And then Devontae Smith absolutely stole the show. The guy had 130 receiving yards on 7 catches for 3 touchdowns, and he proved that last night why he's going to be the Heisman Trophy winner. This guy is absolutely electric. The biggest knock on him is that he's like 175 pounds, so it's really light if you're going into the NFL, but man, does he have wheels. He was very impressive throughout the entire night. So in the event the Jets wanted to move back, maybe roll with Sam, Devontae Smith could be a potential trade-down option within the top 10 if you're looking at it that way. So big things. We like this. This is through one game and one draft declaration. This is looking pretty good. I can't be upset here. But then we get to the main event, the heavyweight showdown, Ohio State versus the Clemson Tigers. Now, the Ohio State Buckeyes obviously wind up winning this game in just amazing fashion. It winds up being 49-28, and it could not have been a more of an exciting game for New York Jet fans, because I'm going into this game and I'm just thinking like, man, we're going to have to watch Trevor Lawrence just go off on the Buckeyes, and he's going to be playing in a national title game again, and we're just going to be like left here sucking our thumbs. Well, I was completely wrong, and I couldn't be more happy than that. So Trevor Lawrence finishes the day pretty good. He comes out and he goes 33 of 48, 400 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. And then Justin Fields comes out and just puts on an absolute clinic, going 22 of 28, 385 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 1 interception. And then on the ground, Lawrence had 10 rushes for -8 yards. He did get a touchdown at the beginning of the game. But then Justin Fields had 8 rushes for 42 yards. Oh man, this was so exciting if you're a Jet fan, because Justin Fields looks legit. Now with the rushing side of things, I can see where people are going to be a little bit concerned, because he took a big time wallop that wound up, turning into a very debatable targeting call. But he took a shot to his ribs, and you wonder, is he going to be able to sustain that type of beating and hits in the NFL? Because it's going to be bigger, stronger, faster guys all the time. So I would like to see him slide more. I don't want to see him take the big shots like he was taking, but the pocket presence, the way he was sliding in and out of pressure was fantastic, and it looked pretty much night and day different. Like Lawrence, while he still put up a great game, looked like he was struggling. It was not a good night for Trevor Lawrence. He wound up fumbling the ball in a very critical time towards the end of the game, and you just sort of watched, and you had to be in awe of everything you saw from Justin Fields. And this is nice because the biggest knock on Fields has been the prime time, the level of competition that he's facing. So if he goes on and he beats Clemson like he did, which is fantastic. Everyone's talking about him being the number 2 pick or arguably possibly a number 1 pick. If he goes out and he plays Alabama in the national title game and he puts on a performance, similar to this, oh man, is that going to be exciting for Jet fans. And now let's get into like our takeaways and what the why this is so important for the New York Jets. So first off, a top performance that Fields had against Clemson, and if he does it against Alabama, we're going to be talking about, is he going to be possibly a number 1 overall pick? Remember, 3 years ago when Sam Darnold was considered the consensus number 1 overall pick, and then the Browns decided to take Baker Mayfield. Trevor Lawrence has been considered arguably the number 1 overall pick since he got into college, and Justin Fields has been kind of that second in command or second guy behind Lawrence. So over the course of the combine, this next title game and the pro days and all that sort of stuff, does Justin Fields wind up leapfrogging Trevor Lawrence, and then the Jets wind up getting him at number 2? It's going to be interesting. As a fan of football, I could not have loved watching these two quarterbacks last night more. Then you have some people talking about, okay, well, Trevor Lawrence had let's call it a disappointing game. It wasn't a bad game, but it was a disappointing game because you're kind of thinking he's going to the national title game. It's going to be him versus Alabama. Is he going to get another, title ring and that sort of stuff? Is there a situation now? There were some shots of Trevor Lawrence on the sideline where they had to cover his face. It looked like he was probably tearing up, getting a little sad. Now, it could be because it was his last game and he was upset. Or it could be, hey, he's upset that he's losing his second game. He's only lost 2 games in his collegiate career, and Ohio State just thumped him. The 2 losses, LSU and Ohio State, the last 2 years, did not look that great for Trevor Lawrence. And you know what? Is there a situation where Trevor Lawrence decides, hey, I'm not coming out of Clemson, and I'm just going to go back to school for my next year? I don't think that's going to be the case. He's still going to go probably number 1 overall. If he doesn't, he's not falling past 2. So it would be silly to sort of forego all that money and risk injury. I mean, look, Travis Etienne probably should have came out of the draft last year because this year was definitely not what he had on his docket. The next big thing for the New York Jets, you're talking about the head coaching search. And one thing that I was harping on the number 1 overall pick for was if you get the number 1 overall pick, then the head coach knows exactly who he's taking. You can plan your free agents around that pick and everything like that. Now, because Fields is playing the way he's playing and people are excited about him, the Jets are all of a sudden looking like a really, really desirable spot because at worst case scenario, you're getting one of these 2 quarterbacks. As long as you're okay with both of them, you can plan really nicely around this team. We have a ton of draft picks, a ton of cap space to surround whoever the quarterback is. Which brings me to my next point. In the event that you don't like either one of these quarterbacks and you're in the mindset of, hey, let's build around Sam, let's build up the team, and we could take a quarterback next year, I don't like that because that sort of gives me the willies. It's not that I'm comparing Sam Darnold to Christian Hackenberg, but we passed on Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson in place for Jamal Adams when we thought we may have had a quarterback in Christian Hackenberg, and we were looking towards the 2018 draft with Baker and Sam and Rosen and Allen and all these different guys. And you sort of get captured in the moment. If you're sitting at 2 and you think there's a franchise quarterback and you have the 32nd ranked quarterback right now about to make a bunch of money, maybe it's just time to pull the trigger. So I'm not a huge fan of that. But if you are in the camp of keeping Sam and drafting Sewell or trading down and getting more picks to surround Sam and just build this team, because there's a good argument to be made that teams like the Chiefs and the Texans were built up way better when they drafted Mahomes and Watson than the Jets would have been at number 6, back at that point in time. So I understand that. But if you're looking at how these quarterbacks performed, all of a sudden the Jets are in a prime spot to be a trade target, because not only are teams competing for a quarterback, they're also competing for Sewell. So there's a lot that could happen. Atlanta sitting at number 4 right now. I don't know where they wind up actually picking, but if they do stay at 4, the Jets could fall back to 4. They could take or Atlanta could take one of the Georgia quarterbacks, because both Fields and Trevor Lawrence are from Georgia. I could see them both fitting in well there. You've got to think Sewell or Devonta Smith goes 3, and then that leaves one of the guys for the Jets. So you could, in theory, get multiple picks and still draft a blue chip player. So there's excitement about that. The next thing for me is the whole handling adversity, and we saw just how guys responded, because Fields was getting ripped on for his game against Northwestern. He did not have a good game. He did have an injured hand, so there was a little bit more that went into it than I think just that. Plus, he was missing his top wide receiving option in Chris Olave. And you saw last night, Olave just absolutely went off. And, oh, man, Fields just has such a cannon of an arm. It's just such a beautiful throw. But handling adversity, Fields was able to battle back from just such a disappointing game against Northwestern, in a victory nonetheless, but still a disappointing game. And then you look at Trevor Lawrence, who's handed his second win or second loss of his career, of his collegiate career, and I don't want to say he's moping on the sidelines, but it was definitely, the body language showed just how much this game kind of hurt him. So between the two quarterbacks, very, very interesting stuff that we got to see. When you're looking at potential trade downs, we'll go back to the trade down sort of situation. What could the Jets potentially get? Well, the Redskins, when they moved up for RG3, they gave up the number 6th overall pick, a second-round pick that same year, plus 2 additional first-round picks. The Eagles, when they moved up from 8 to 2 to get Carson Wentz, that's when Joe Douglas was there. They gave up the 8th pick, a 3rd and 4th-round pick for that same year, and then I believe it was a 1st and 2nd-round pick following. So the Jets could really wind up in some really nice position if they do decide to trade down. And I'll be honest, I don't know what they're going to do. A lot of it's going to depend on what the head coach wants to do. I have a hard time seeing any sort of negative situation. I would say the biggest negative that could possibly happen is that Trevor Lawrence goes back to school, Fields goes 1, and then the Jets, either take Zach Wilson or trade down. So maybe the trade down isn't quite as sexy at that point, but I would expect all these guys to come out of college and the Jets to be sitting so pretty. And there's a lot less pressure on the Jets, because the Jaguars sitting at 1, they are going to be scrutinized by whoever they take. They take, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields looks really good. They take Justin Fields, well, they passed on the generational talent that is Trevor Lawrence, and they're going to be judged nonstop. The Jets have to just sit at number 2 and just take whoever's left. You want to have a favorite for sure. You definitely want to have a favorite. But the Jets are sitting in a really nice spot, and they're going to be able to control and dictate how the rest of this draft plays out for the rest of the league. And I am so excited about it. Guys, make sure you tune in January 11th, 8 o'clock for our live stream, Alabama versus Ohio State. Are we going to see another amazing performance by Justin Fields? Let me know what you think of the performances last night down below in the comments. What were your biggest takeaways? And as always, guys, go Jets.